I am in a restaurant called Theo's, right smack bang in the centre of Funchal. I was actually going to come out and try the lunch menu here, because they do a lunch menu. But you know what, sometimes you just need to treat yourself, and today, I think, is one of those days I need it a little bit. So we're going to go with the full menu, spend a little bit of money, so I can show you, well, one, how good this restaurant is, and give you an option of somewhere to eat. If you want to treat yourself a little bit more than the normal local fare, this is definitely one of your good options. So let's get into it. As you can see, gorgeous little restaurants. Upstairs, actually, open kitchen, which is pretty cool. I love that. You can sit inside or outside on the balcony, overlooking one of the very, very pretty streets in Funchal. In terms of the menu, you have, well, it's set up in a quite easy way. You have the classics to share. I've ordered quite a few of these. We'll come to it when it comes. And then you have a meat section for mains and a fish section for mains, and of course your desserts. What I've done and what I recommend you do is just take a selection of the classics to share and then choose one of your main courses. But be prepared, because it is a lot of food. And just a heads up, because it is a lot of food and they're kind, they're giving me half servings so I can show you guys more. So what you see will be reduced compared to what you ordered. Do not worry about that. First up, and an absolute must at all three of these restaurants by Júlio Pereira, is the bread, the sourdough bread. Fermented, slow fermented bread. You get a wedge of it, and this isn't even actually the full size. I've asked for a little bit less, but you get one big wedge per person. And let me tell you guys, this bread is insanely good. And the difference at each of the restaurants is it comes with butter from the Azores, but at each restaurant they have a different powder on top. At this restaurant, it's tomato powder and a little bit of sea salt. Just look at the quality of that bread, the uniform holes on it, the crust, the crunchy, crispy crust. So we'll just tear that open. Oh my God, look at that. Ridiculous. Can you hear the crust? Can you hear that? The noise of the crust crackling in my hands as I tear it apart. So I'm going to take a little bit of that bread and, of course, get some of that butter on it. Make sure we get a lot of that tomato powder and just slather that butter on it. If it's treat day, you can definitely have, well, we don't have to be guilty about butter, right? So we'll get a good amount of that on there and try it. You know what? Sourdough can be overrated. It's not always that good, but this one, the flavor in it is incredible. So good, and the crust just crunches in your mouth, and you get into that soft, fluffy bread on the middle, which just releases more and more flavor as you bite. But the butter, for me, the butter is the winner, and it's genius. Because the tomato powder has a little bit of sourness, a little bit of acidity, which cuts through the richness of the butter, and the bread, of course, as well, the sweetness of the bread as you chew on it. Pretty damn smart, I would say. The only problem is, try not to eat all of it and fill yourself up before the rest of the food comes. So that's the hard part. All right, next up we have codfish panipuri. So a cross between Portuguese and Indian, the panipuri being Indian, and the salt cod, bacalhau, which is obviously distinctly Portuguese. I just had a funny moment because they said they were giving me half portions and it's come out as 2 pieces. And I went and said, oh, you know, by the way, you said you were going to give me half portions. Do you mind? Because I can't eat it all. And apparently 2 pieces is half portion. Normally it comes as 4 panipuri, so you're definitely getting your money's worth on this one. They look amazing. I mean, just look at them sitting there on top of a potato puree. You've got crispy onion, little crispy shallots on top, little bit of chives, chopped chives, and inside you have the bacalhau, the salted cod. And you can see what panipuri are. They're these little like fried balls, essentially. And you break them open with your thumb and put things inside. In India, super cheap street food. Here, amazing fusion starter. So, panipuri with bacalhau. In India, what you would do is just pop it into your mouth whole. But one, I think these are a bit bigger than the ones in India. And 2, I kind of just want to bite it in half and show you what's in the inside. So we'll do that with the first one. That is delicious. Just look at that on the inside. Absolutely packed full of salt cod, bacalhau. But that panipuri is just soft and light. It just melts in the mouth. Crunch, obviously, and it's obviously made to order because if the bacalhau was sat in there for too long and the potato puree, it would go soft. So it's made right at the last minute. You get the crunch of the panipuri, and then the cod hits you, the saltiness of the cod. Not over salty, obviously it is salted, but they'll soak it So the salt comes down, they change the water and change the water. And then, after the cod hits you and the saltiness hits you, that chive and the crispy onions, I mean, come on, crispy shallots, you can't go wrong with that. But that chive, the freshness of that chive just smacks through your face. It's delicious. And it is genius because Portugal did have an influence at a time on India, so I wouldn't have thought of making this combination. So it is smart. It is rooted in some sort of history, whether it's good or not, that's not for me to say. But culinary-wise, it is rooted in Portugal's history. And what a unique, genius little dish. Again, food just keeps coming. As soon as I finish, the next one comes. That's how you want it, actually. What is this one?
This is a tubicado. You have smoked red pepper under, the sardine that is cooked on water, vinegar and salt,
okay,
and tomato salad.
Wow,
Enjoy.
Looks amazing, thank you. This one looks so pretty on the plate. It's the first that I'm going, well, I might not have to use knife and fork, but I'm going to be polite and use a knife and fork. I probably can still eat it with my hands. Sardines, of course, popular in Portugal, not so popular in Madeira, I must admit. You don't really see them everywhere like you do in Lisbon or Porto, for example. But it's nice that they're using them. Pickled this time, you can smell the pickle coming off it with the roasted pepper underneath, and on a little more of that bread, so you're not going to go wrong with that, but it's all in the tasting, isn't it? Oh, there's a lot of olive oil on that bread. Get a little bit of everything, a little bit of that roasted red pepper, a little bit of the sardine, and the bread. And a little bit of the, looks like there's red onion and tomato and a herb, can't quite tell what it is, on top. So let's try it. Wow, sorry guys. I'm just gonna have to try a little more, just before I give you my opinion. It's coriander, by the way, the herb. Delicious. Very delicate, actually. The sardine is really delicately pickled, and you do get acidity from it, because obviously it's pickled in the vinegar. But the delicate fish flavour comes through. It's not fishy at all, so if you don't like fish, you probably still will like this one. But the sweetness of the pepper is quite interesting as well. The roasted red pepper, when you roast them, probably on the char grill, and then take the skin off, you get a smoky, sweet flavour from the pepper. Again, quite delicate, doesn't overpower the fish at all. And as I said, you can't go wrong with toasted charred bread, drizzled in olive oil. Very, very good. Next up, so the next dish has hit the table. We're still on the sharing starters, and it is tempura fried green beans, tartar sauce, and spirulina powder. And there's an interesting story behind it that she just told me. In Portuguese, this is called piscina de horta, which means fish of the garden. And if you, well, maybe you can put two and two together. It was eaten by the poor people who couldn't afford to buy fish. So they would use green beans from the garden, deep fry them, and eat them like that as their fish. Pretty cool history. Wow, they're still hot from the fryer. So I'm gonna dip that in that tartar sauce. Look at that, crisp perfection. It's probably not something I would order, because I would be like, oh, it's vegetarian. Why am I going to order that? But the spirulina powder, the crunchy batter, thin, crunchy batter, light batter, the green beans still have a bit of a crunch, and then that tartar sauce, it all comes together in, well, it's delicious. You would think it was vegetarian, obviously, but you wouldn't think, oh, where's my fish, where's my meat? Because it's just a good dish, and I think that is a sign of a good vegetarian dish. You don't miss anything. But that tartar sauce, I think that tartar sauce is what brings it together. As you can see, even though I've got more food coming, they're disappearing fast. And it's good to have vegetarian dishes on the menu because Madeira isn't the easiest place for vegans and vegetarians. I know some of you will be thinking, good, it shouldn't be, you should eat meat. But genuinely, it is not an easy place for vegans and vegetarians. So to have good quality, high quality vegetarian dishes on menus, it's a step in the right direction. And that, well, there's only one left, as you can see. That is delicious. I might just finish it. Yeah, go on. Why not? You only live once. Put all the weight back on that I've lost. I'm not gonna lie, this is the one that I've been waiting for. This is slow-cooked pulled pork inside, well, it's a pulled pork croquette, let's say that. And on top you have pickled onions, and on the bottom you have barbecue sauce. And I had this the other day when I came here. I was with my uncle and my auntie, and we all agreed this one was amazing. And surprising, because you look at it and you think, oh, it's just, you know, it's just covered in crumbs, breadcrumbs, deep fried, and you've got pulled pork on the inside. Well, you'd be wrong, and I didn't know that until I bit into it. So I kind of don't want to ruin it for you, but then I want to tell you how amazing it is, so you order it. So what I'm going to do, I'll pick it up, slather it in that barbecue sauce, and take a bite. Well, I'll come to you for it, because it's going to be a messy one, I think. As good as before. Just look at that on the inside. Jam-packed with amazing porky goodness. So soft, melt in the mouth pork, really rich, delicious pork. But it's not crumb. It's the pork crackling. I don't know how they do it, I don't know how they make it. But it's insanely good and such a ridiculously good idea. Like, why have I not seen that before? Such a good idea. And then the pickled onions, again, acidity cuts through the richness of that pork. And the barbecue sauce, well, it's sweet, it's tangy, it's salty. My God, what a little dish this is. And yes, it's messy. Yes, it's with your hands, well, and a fork to get the sauce, but you're not going to want to be leaving any of this one. I certainly won't. All right, you would be forgiven for thinking that I skipped the rest because I was so full and we moved on to dessert, but sadly not the case. This is the last of the sharing dishes, the starters I nearly said. It is a bolo de belém, which is a traditional Portuguese donut, normally filled with custard, very famous. And in this case, it's filled with shredded duck and peanut butter and sprinkled on top with icing sugar, as you can see, good dusting of icing sugar. So sweet and savory, of course, bit of a plate. I'm not entirely sure where it comes from. Maybe if I'm thinking about it, Portugal's influence in Malacca and in Singapore maybe, which is where the peanut butter influence might come in. But I'm not entirely sure, to be honest, I'm just making it up. It looked interesting on the menu, so I thought I had to try it. It looks amazing in what it is. You can see a little donut there, golden, soft actually, and it smells amazing. So, well, let's try it. If you like things like that, if you like sweet and savory, it's going to be right up your street. I'm not the biggest fan of sweet and savory, I must admit, but this is good. The peanut butter works really nicely with it. And the donut itself is light and fluffy, it's crispy, it's not oily, it's not claggy, it's very, very nice. And then that duck, rich duck, just, again, like the pork, just melts in your mouth. If I'm giving one criticism, got to be careful, right? If I'm giving one criticism, or two, it would be the texture. I want a crunch in there, and then also the acidity. It's very rich, because it is, you know, it is sweet and salty and rich with the duck. I just want something to break that up. It is delicious. I do like it. It's interesting, different to everything else we've had on the menu, and it is a funky little twist on a Portuguese classic. So, yeah, I need to find space to finish it. I'm not going to lie, guys. I haven't even gotten to the main course yet, and I am filling up. Main course, and to be honest, I've eaten enough that I could probably have just stopped, or had maybe one more of those starters and then stopped, but, well, I had to show you this, didn't I? Look how ridiculous this dish is. Now, you think of Spanish paella, but Portugal is also famous for its rice dishes. Got huge chunks of octopus in there, roasted octopus. I presume it's been slow cooked first and then roasted in the oven. This dish is cooked in the oven, if I can get that to focus. There you go, look at that. Slices, thick slices of tentacles. And then, to be honest, I need to pick the camera up and show you. I can't just have you over there, can I? So, we have the thick pieces of octopus. You have an aioli with chipotle powder inside. You've got more of that slow roasted, oven roasted or fire roasted pepper. And then you have your rice, and look at that. Look at the crust around the edge of the pot or the pan. You just know the flavor there is going to be insane. And then you've got little pieces of garlic and coriander and just a rich, rich sauce in there. It's cooked in there. all cooked together into a, I'm not going to say paella, I'll insult a few people, but it looks amazing. It smells amazing. Let's see what it tastes like. Right, you're meant to eat it on a plate. It's to share, obviously, but I don't know how much I'm going to get through, so I'm going to go directly into the dish and eat from the dish, because why not? Well, first of all, I just want to try the rice, to be honest. So I'm going to get a spoon of that rice. Oh, it just comes apart beautifully. Look at that. Look at that. Nice and thick. Let's try. Yes. It is so rich, so powerful, so, I wouldn't say meaty actually, you know? I want to say meaty, but each grain of rice is individual. It's not mush, it's not stuck together, it's not overcooked. There's a bite to it, just how you'd want it to be. And with a little bit of that aioli, oh my, what a dish. And of course, that sticky bit on the outside, that's cooked against the pan. Yeah, that is where it's at. But you can't have octopus rice without trying the octopus and seeing if the octopus is the star of the show. So you're gonna need a knife for this, but hopefully it's gonna be soft. Can I show you? Can't really be bothered to pick up the camera, guys. I'm lazy now because I'm full. Just wanna sleep. Yeah, super soft. Just cuts through like butter. Thick, chunky pieces of octopus. I'm gonna try it with that rice and a bit of the aioli, because why not? That's what it's there for. Oops. There we go. The octopus is perfectly cooked. They've definitely cooked it slowly beforehand to break it down, to soften it. And then they've cut it up and put it in the rice dish and finished it in the oven. And there's a real char on the outside of it. I'll show you on this piece. You can see how dark it is, how black it's gone. There's a real char on the outside, real smoky flavor. And actually, that is a flavor through the whole dish, because not only have they used chipotle in the aioli, they've put some chipotle in the rice too. And it's smoked chipotle powder. And you get that running through the dish, and then of course it being oven roasted. There's slithers of garlic in there. That's a real rich garlicky flavor. That's been slow roasted and sliced thinly. It really is delicious. Don't say that lightly. I know I've said that for pretty much every dish here, and I said in most of my videos that things are good because, well, they are. But this one is a real standout. 24 euros, I think, but it's definitely enough for two people, especially if you're having starters, not just for one pig like me. Finally, dessert, and I've gone with, well, just a small one, didn't want to go crazy. French toast, caramelized French toast with salted caramel ice cream. Come on, caramel, 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 where can you go wrong? A big block of French toast, nice and caramelized on the outside, and then a nice big scoop of salted caramel ice cream on top, and you can just see the salted caramel rippled through that ice cream. And it's just melting on top. You can see it seeping into the French toast. I'm not going to give you too much of a description. I'm just going to tell you how good it is because, well, it's dessert. What's to say other than Anyway, let's try it. So get a good spoon, a little bit of everything on there. Wow. That is delicious. You can see how soft, how wobbly, how moist that French toast is. Just look at that way. You can see it just flopped off there, but it's amazing. And the buttery flavor, there's also a orange citrusy, there's a bit of bitterness coming through from that, but the flavor in it's so buttery, it's so rich, it just melts. When you put it in your mouth, it just melts. And then you get the crunch from the crust where it's been pan-fried, and the salty caramel hit from the ice cream. The ice cream is super good quality. But the best bit's the corner bits, which have just caught the pan and gone sticky, caramelized, crunchy, buttery, salty, caramelly. Great dessert, great way to finish the meal. And what a meal. I've eaten so much food. I've said a few times in the videos, I've been trying to lose weight, and I have been losing weight. I've lost over 10 kilos now, actually. Probably put it all back on after this meal. But eating this much food is hard for me now, because I've been really cutting down. But if I'm gonna blow it, this is the type of place I want to come and do it. And I recommend it, as I say. If you want to treat yourself, if you want a fancy meal, if you just want, I don't know, maybe a final night meal before you leave your holiday, or you just want to watch this video and watch me eat it, Theo's, yeah, get it on your list. Or get it on my list and get my food map in the link in the description. Take care, guys.